Hey everyone, it's Jack from WhatCulture.com, repping Fast Count this week. But first of all, I just want to say a big thank you to Finley, who sent this wonderful picture and autograph of Steve Blackman. Thank you very much, Finley, for remembering that Steve is one of my favourite wrestlers of all time. How can't you love this? Back in the day, I never knew why Steve Blackman couldn't be challenging for the WWF Championship. He was, of course, the hardest man on the roster. He could do all this with the sticks. King Ross also got a present. He got some beard oil from somebody this week. I can't remember the name, sorry. And then everyone tried the beard. He was like, "Ooh, look at my beard oil." And then he passed it around all the lads in the office with their beards. And they all had a bit. And they were like, "Ooh, it makes my beard so soft." And it's just like, come on, guys, can you be a bit sensitive, please? But anyway, I got the better present. I got a Steve Blackman autograph, so good stuff. But enough of that, it's time to live in the here and now. It's time for the Fast Count. First, let's start off with all of this week's WWE news. First of all, Roman Reigns, the big dog, the guy, the three-time WWE champion, I think, he's been pulled from the remainder of WWE's European tour. Tour is going to be really hard to get across in this one. I mean tour. I mean, like, it's my accent. Tour is not a good word to say. He's been pulled from the European dates left on WWE's annual schedule. We don't know the reason for this quite yet, but whatever it is, if it's some kind of personal issue with Roman, we do wish him the very best, and hopefully he can get back on track pretty soon. Oh my god, there's been a fight backstage. Everyone loves a fight backstage. Of course, you'll have heard of this by now. It happened quite a few days ago. Chris Jericho in one corner, Cara in the other. I will break down what happened for you right now. So basically, the WWE lads were touring around the UK, and they were somewhere in between Leeds and Scotland. So we'll say they were in Newcastle because that's where we are. Apparently, Cara, according to various reports, was making annoying noises on the bus, and then everyone was like, "Stop it, Cara," and he was like, "Nah, fam, I'm gonna keep going, meh," or whatever the noise was, meh. And then Jericho was like, "Just stop it, mate." And then he apparently, Cara threw a punch at Jericho, and then there was a scuffle, and Cara was kicked off the bus. But in the meantime, before Cara got kicked off the bus, Jericho bit his fingers. I think we can chalk that one up as a win for Jericho on points, but Cara still retains his never to be knocked out record in backstage confrontations. In all seriousness, this could spell a lot of trouble for Cara because this is the second altercation he's had this year. He of course had a fight with Simon Gotch as well earlier on, and does he really have the leverage to be behaving like that backstage? I'd suggest not, but we'll see what happens.
I never actually imagine what the noise might be until you made it. Yeah. What would he be doing?
It could be just lucha.
Just do lucha.
I still think nah. Yeah. And finally, there is big news concerning one of those traditional Survivor Series matches coming up next week. Baron Corbin is out of Team Smackdown, and Shane McMahon is in. Now, Ben Potter talked about this a lot on Ups and Downs this week. Is it good or is it bad? Is it an up or I mean, there'll be no ups and downs on Fast Count, of course, because this isn't ups and downs, but is it good or is it bad? Is it because Shane's really entertaining and he probably makes more of a compelling member of the team than Baron Corbin would, but on the other hand, Corbin is, of course, younger, an actual wrestler, and, you know, someone who WWE seem to have been getting behind over the past few months with regards to a push. Could that be slowing down now? Could he be in some sort of sticky situation backstage? Could he just not be doing as well as WWE thought? Whatever you think, the facts remain. Shane McMahon's in the team, Baron Corbin's out, James Ellsworth's the mascot. Team SmackDown is confirmed as Banter Team. Hashtag Banter Squad at Survivor Series. Come on, the SmackDown. I want the SmackDown to win. Who do you want to win? SmackDown's the correct answer. And now for all the news from elsewhere in the unbelievable... No, I'm running out of ways to say this bit. Pro wrestling elsewhere, non-WWE. First of all, let's go to Lucha Underground, where Prince Puma is dead. Not literally dead, Ricochet himself hasn't passed away, but Prince Puma, in storyline, for all intents and purposes, could well be dead. That's right, this week on Lucha Underground, Puma lost his Grave Consequences match against Mil Muertes, and you know, he was probably feeling quite confident going in because Muertes is currently 0-2 in Grave Consequences matches, or should I say 1-2, because he did defeat Prince Puma. There was a lot of pressure on Mil Muertes. His valet or manager, Katrina, said, "I'm not bringing you back this time if you lose, mate, because she's got the power of resurrection." If you don't watch Lucha Underground, this is all going to sound crazy, but basically, both times he's lost previously, she's brought him back. She didn't have to this time, he won. Puma's dead, who's going to bring him back? He doesn't really have anyone on his side with the capability of resurrecting a man from the dead. We'll see what happens. It's a very interesting development. It's kind of like when they killed that guy at the start of Game of Thrones, when everyone was like, are they going to kill him straight away? It doesn't matter. One of the biggest stars in Lucha Underground, for all we know, could be dead. Second up, last night saw the first night, if that makes sense, of Rev Pro's Global Wars pay-per-view. There were a couple of surprising results on the undercard, mainly Chris Hero defeating Tomohiro Ishii, a result that made Sam Driver incredibly sad. He's a huge Ishii fan, but the biggest surprise came in the main event of the night. So the reigning RPW British Heavyweight Champion Zack Sabre Jr. went into his match against Shibata from New Japan and lost. Shibata is now the new British Heavyweight Champion. He's the first non-Brit and non-American to win the belt ever since its inception in 2012. He follows in the footsteps of former champions such as AJ Styles, Colt Cabana and Marty Scurll, but on the other hand, over in Japan, he recently lost his never openweight title to Evil from Los Ingobernables de Japón, but trading one title for another, Shibata, I don't think it really matters to him. He just loves kicking people's heads in. It'll be very interesting to see where this goes, and the second night of Rev Pro's Global Wars is on tonight. And I've been referring to this storyline for a couple of weeks now. The DCC have finally been unmasked on TNA Impact. I can confirm that the three members are, as was rumoured, James Storm, Bram, and the debuting Eddie Kingston. Ooh, I'm a bit full. I've just had my lunch. But regardless, let's tuck in to some fantastic takeaway. Why did your face fall there when I said that? You were just like, no. What did you... Okay, fine. Takeaway time. Now, the first topic I'm going to bring up is the phenomenon of arenas, specifically in America, spoiling matches that have yet to have been announced on TV. Yes, I'm talking to you, the PPG Paints Arena in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. What are you doing, you bunch of soulless arseholes? Yes, in the previous week, the PPG Paints Arena have spoiled 2 scheduled matches for Raw's next pay-per-view, Roadblock, in December. Now, when I say spoiled, I don't mean they've spoiled the results of those matches, I just mean that they've spoiled who will be facing each other at that event. I won't reveal who that is in case you've managed to avoid those spoilers. I'm sure many of you have seen. It's just annoying, isn't it? Like, wrestling isn't boxing. When you've got a card given to you, you've got to keep that a secret. Surely they're given some sort of brief. It'd be like HBO saying next time, in 3 weeks down the line on Game of Thrones, the Dragon Lady will clash with the little sarcastic dwarf. And it's just like, I don't watch Game of Thrones. But it's just not on, is it? Surely Vince must be blowing his lid right now. ESPN have announced a new 30 for 30 documentary about the XFL. For those of you slightly too young to remember, and it's crazy that some of you might be too young to remember the XFL, because I remember it, I was only about 7 or 8 at the time. It was basically when Vince McMahon decided to take on the NFL and take over the world of American football with catastrophic results. It really didn't go well. It's widely regarded as one of his worst business decisions ever. And it'll be fascinating to see how the documentary presents the XFL, because they will surely have had to get in contact with WWE to use some of that footage. And finally, what did you think of the end of Hell in a Cell, the pay-per-view, which was of course headlined by the first women's headline match in WWE history, Charlotte v Sasha Banks in the Hell in a Cell structure? Did you think it was good? Did you think it was bad? Because Vince McMahon, as reported by the Wrestling Observer newsletter, was apparently unhappy with the ending and blamed Sasha Banks. Vince apparently said that it was Sasha's fault that the table didn't break, even though you kind of saw that they were both trying really hard. He didn't really blame himself for pushing through the decision to put Charlotte over in Sasha's hometown, and he really thought that Sasha was to blame for some reason. And apparently a few people spoke up backstage in her defense and said, if anything, Charlotte should have grabbed a handful of tights or put her feet on the ropes, something heelish, in order to make the ending of the match a little bit more kind of contestable rather than just a clean win for Charlotte. But regardless, what did you think, and do you think Vince is right to criticise Sasha so much? So that's all for this week on the Fast Count. Thank you very much for watching. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. Richard's checking his watch, so this shoot's obviously taken a hell of a long time. Here's some more swear words for you to head out. Fuck. You can follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber, and I'll see you soon.
Hello, magazine called Wrestling. That's right, it's time for issue 3 of Wrestling, this time focusing on the 100 greatest wrestlers of all time. That's been decided by our votes, wrestlers' votes, and of course, your votes. There's a big feature on the practice of blading, and of course, a How WWE Should Have Booked written by this guy. This time, How WWE Should Have Booked the anonymous Raw general manager. Not only that, but there are 5 covers of WhatCulture Wrestling 3 to collect out there. Can you catch them all? I don't care. Wrestling! As ever, you can pre-order the magazine by going to shop.whatculture.com.